to episode 2 of Zoo Americus. And this episode I'm going to build a habitat for the capybara and the capuchin monkey. As you can see, I already made some plans, and that's because I was thinking of making 2 separate inner habitats for those. So the capuchin will get a higher habitat than the capybara, or inner surroundings. So that was my plan, and I also thought that's fun because both animals are walk-through species. They're quite relaxed. So I thought, well, isn't it fun to make this a walk-through? As you can see, I'm making some water features as well because the capybara needs some water. They really like to swim and be in the water. They're like more like a marsh animal actually than a jungle animal, but they just really love to be around grasslands and water. So that's why I really needed a nice water feature, and I thought, it's a great moment to also implement a little waterfall in there. But you will see me building that in the next episode, as well as making that little bridge that I'm making there look beautiful. So this episode I will be focusing mostly on building the inside areas for the capybara and the capuchin monkey, and I wanted to challenge myself a little bit. So that's why I thought, why not make the inside area of the capybara, the capuchin monkey, make it on height. So capuchin monkeys, of course, they love to climb. So and the capybara definitely is not a climber. So I thought, then wouldn't it be fun if you had like the inside habitat up top of the capybara inside part, the stables for the capybara, so people can walk in, and if the capuchins are inside, they can see them play through the glass and stuff like that. So that was the little challenge for me, and also making a little stairs for the zookeeper to go up, which wouldn't be used by the capybara. That was also the challenge for this habitat. As you can see, I'm making the inside area for the capybara. I'm making quite a little bit of gates. The capybara is just such a friendly animal, so they didn't really need a lot of gates. But of course, if you need to separate maybe males and females, or you need to separate some young because they need to get vaccinated or something, of course you want to have on the inside some barriers. And I started off with making just like a lot of wooden barriers inside, but later on you will see that I changed this to like an indoor area for the zookeeper first, where they keep all their stuff, with a door, because later on I thought, first of all, it's way too big a stable for all those capybaras. They're not that big an animal, and it would look a little bit more realistic. Of course, building like these little gates and stuff is a lot of fun, as long as you can find the right materials. That's always my struggle, finding all those materials that I need to make gates. And I wanted also to make some little bit of, doors, like animal doors on the lower side, so you can just open them and close them, so the capybaras can go through. But of course, we needed a bigger door as well for the zookeeper. So actually, I sort of chose here to make like a sort of barn doors, and make with these little wooden pieces, make like the sliding doors. And I was interested because of the wooden pieces. They already have like these really small beams on top, which really gave me the impression of like a little bit of a sliding door already. So I thought it would be fun to be using those because they really give that vibe. The only problem was when I was using them is that they're really, really difficult to select once you place them over each other. So I was struggling all the time with selecting these pieces and getting all the pieces at the same time to get over. And it was a little bit of a nightmare. Somehow I didn't get them to group right, and I don't know. It didn't work out the best for me, but it really looks good. Here I wanted to give the little door, making sure that it stood open, so I made it open. For the other habitats, I didn't do that. you see me making those little gates, using all these different pieces to make those gates. And just thinking about the capybara, I was saying earlier, it's just such a friendly animal. When I was doing and making this habitat, I was doing some research into the capybara and what kind of habitats there are made for in different zoos. And I came across the capybaras, that there's such friendly animals because they are literally open to any kind of species, and they will take them up in the group if they need care or nurturing. And it was just amazing to see how these capybaras just at least if they're not meat eaters, of course, but for instance, there's a zoo where a cat is part of the capybara group. It just lives in the zoo together with the capybaras, and they're just one big happy family. And the zoo even made a little sign to say that about this cat living there as well. It has its own information sign, so it's really part of that capybara family there. And of course, if you want to make because I wanted to make the top part as well, I needed to have nice flat floor where I can build on. And this flat floor needed to stick out a bit, of course, because I wanted the guests to go in. So also making this building, giving it a nice feature, being that it's stuck out and it has these like 2 levels that are not quite on the same basics. So that was quite interesting to make. And of course, making the pathing go in there and working is always the the trick here as well. You always seem to keep getting gaps. I saw some videos of the not Planet Zoo, but Coaster Planet and their new pathing system. And I really hope that if we get Planet Zoo 2, that we get that same pathing system, because then all these problems will be solved. It would be great. Because they have just this stamping tool where you can just stamp the paths. That would be really amazing. And of course, making these little doors already on the bottom part, I could just copy them over and also use them in the top part. But here I choose to just keep them closed because the door will be standing open. Of course, this would be normally a zookeeper door and it wouldn't be standing open. But, in this case, the zoo, it would be much easier to keep that door open because the zookeeper needs to get inside this area as well. So the door standing open would be enough for the Capucin monkeys to go inside. And in the end, I was really happy to see that the Capucin monkeys really used this inside area a lot, and that the capybaras were not going inside there. So the thought of me making this area and just making it like a single view area for just the Capuchins was really amazing. After I finished with the doors on the outside, I was making the inside area, and I started first of making the glass viewing area. And we have these beautiful, nice, high glass panels I was using for this that were just perfect and gave the look that I wanted. And with this little rim on the bottom, it was just having a nice the effect that I was going for. So people would be coming in, and you have this huge glass panel where you can view the animals through. And I had some pre-made doors from the workshop. Normally, for some things I really like to use these pre-made things because they're so easy and you're much quicker finished. And then I was thinking, I don't like this. For the outside look, I really like this rock feel, but for the inside I really wanted to have this plaster. Of course, inside areas, they tend to be quite stark because they need to be kept clean. So first of all, most inside areas for keepers and stuff, they're concrete because they're just much easier to keep clean. So this as well, if you would have these stone walls sticking out on the inside of an animal area, it would be really hard for animals to for the keepers to keep it clean. And as you can see, I was making the flooring there so the guests could walk there, but it was a little bit difficult because the ground was sticking through on the bottom area and it didn't look nice, and I had to redo it, and I had to redo the pathing again. Like I said, the pathing is really, really a pain, but yeah, it's part of the game, and okay, we just have to deal with it. It's how it is. In the end, I got it how I wanted it to sit, so that's the most important part. So here you can see we made a little bit of cut. So here you can see that I made the concrete inner area already, and I also made some extra windows as well on the inside area because there was no light coming in, especially with this ceiling on top. It was not very nice. It was very dark, and I thought, well, normally those tables wouldn't be so dark, so I opted to make some windows in there and then make the entrance for the keeper to go in there as well. So I had to change a little bit on all the parts of the outside. And as you can also see, I used for this outside the circumference of this habitat, I just used the regular wooden beams circumference. And that's because for this area, it wasn't really necessary to use my null barrier and just to make something completely myself, because I was like making everything myself, especially for such a huge habitat. It will cost lots and lots of money, which as a beginning zoo, you don't have lots and lots of money. So this circumference was really nice, and it really blends well. And it's like the same beams that you used in the giant otter habitat. So at the end, it really blends well in with the jungle-like feel that you have in these habitats. So it didn't really bother me. So in this part, it was fine actually to use it. It will be gone mostly behind any planting as well. And with the rocky area, we could really make and create like the waterfall later on. So it was fine. So as you can see, I'm making a door between the part where the zookeeper is keeping its stuff and where the monkeys can go, because being Capucin monkeys, they are quite mischievous. So you want actually all the stuff for the zookeeper, you want to keep it away from the Capucin monkeys. And as you can see, I made the door a little bit tiny too low. So instead of making it higher, I just opted for putting a little bit of extra of concrete there, so it fit. There's two options for any problem. And then of course the windows needed to have some work as well, so there need to be some glass and wood in, so they look nice. But of course they didn't need too much, because as you can see with the stark contrast of the big stones, making like a lot of fanciful windows wouldn't be necessary. And of course it's an inside area, so guests don't see it, so it doesn't need a lot. Just plain wood and a glass would be fine. And of course that helps for everything to be inside. And it's the same thing here for the keeper area. You needed a window as well so the keepers can see what they're doing. And then I put the doors a little bit better ajar, so it looked a bit more natural. Because, well, a door is so flat against the wall, it wasn't like completely natural. And I made a little bit of extra so you can like lock the doors from the inside, so you can close it. So yeah, after that was finished, I wanted to start making that stairs for the zookeeper. And I saw this really interesting video online on YouTube as well from this worker. I'm very sorry, I don't know his name right now. But he made this great video with how you can make a little bridge where the zookeeper can walk on it, but the animals could not. So I was opting to see if I could find any materials that would be allowing the zookeeper to walk on that part of the bridge as well, and the animals not. So I was testing out actually this bridge first, and I thought it wasn't working. So I opted to see for something else. But in the end, I don't know what it was that I think I did something wrong myself. So it was actually working. I think I needed to wait a little bit longer. So if I did the other one, it did work at the end. So I could use these wooden planks for this as well. And I like this view. And I was thinking, well, because of their little gaps, maybe the capybaras won't be using it. But later on, when I was testing it out, I saw the capybaras could use it. But it turns out that even though they can use it, they don't. So I think maybe it's something in the mechanics of the capybaras that they don't like going up or going high, that they don't use it. I don't know if that's the case. I just know that they are not using the bridge in the end, which is great because that was exactly what I wanted. And the zookeeper is using the bridge, so or the stairs, or how you want to call it. And of course you need some of fencing around the stairs as well, because you don't want zookeepers falling off anywhere. So this fencing part I'm making for the stairs / bridge, or how you want to call it, but I'll be using it around the perimeter of the upstairs area anyway. So there will be a small part where it won't be used, because of course that would be the area where there will be a branch going up. So I wanted to really stimulate the capucins to go up, and a great way of stimulating them is of course putting some climbing material going up there. And it's funny because the capucins also don't generally use this bridge / stairs area, and they always use the branch to go up and go into their inside area, and that was exactly what I planned for. So I was very happy with that. Of course, making these kind of stairs is always a lot of work, because you have to work with these angles, and you have to copy over a lot of stuff, and you have to make the beams and stuff. So it took a while to make it, but in the end it looks really nice. And I figured out that in the end the only thing that wasn't completely up to par is that I needed to put some wooden beams below the wooden structures, because actually they're floating now in the air a little bit. You won't see this in the video, but in my later videos, if you see this area come by, then you see that I put some wooden beams below there, just to make sure that it was working. And again, after I made all the stair parts, I wanted to check out if the zookeeper can still walk in it. And of course, if you see that there was sticking out a bit of the below area on the floor, it was because I made it later, and I was really annoyed by that. I was trying to get it lower, but somehow I couldn't get it to work, so I just raised the floor a tiny bit, so it was higher. And now it's time to make the inside area for the capuchins. And like I said before, you want to use the concrete, and you don't want to have the concrete insides, because then it's really easy to keep clean. And this inside area would be mainly climbing materials. So climbing materials, so if they are inside, they have lots to do and jump around and to play with each other, and the guests will have a nice view of them. And of course, this wouldn't be a huge area, but capuchins aren't that big. It's just for when the weather is a little bit less nice, or for the nights. So it's nice to play around with all these different materials and make them to see if I can make them go climbing everywhere and getting everywhere. And that's always a little bit of a challenge here, because you make these climbing platforms and somehow they don't be using them like you always think they would be using them. And I also wanted to have a little bit more of a natural feel here, so I opted for this dead tree, which is also a little bit climbable. But of course, they had this really annoying little bit roots on the bottom, and they were sticking through the roof on the bottom, so I couldn't put it too low. So as you can see, the roots are really sticking out ugly, but it's a great plant to use and put some vines on, just making a little bit more extra climbing options for these capuchins to go around and just make it look fun. And with the roots, I just put a rock on, so in this way the ugly roots were blocked, and with a little bit of green moss on there, it also gave just a spat of color in there as well, which was nice. And it just finished off that area. So then I thought, and that was also an option with the others, they needed a heating system for the water, because being the South American animals, they needed a lot of warmth. So I just made a heating system for the water, and also thought it would be nice to have a zookeeper hut there and a staff hut there, because also for the giant otters it would be a lot closer and they don't have to walk so much. And in the normal ways it would be close as well. So I just made there a little bit of an area. So, of course, making those floors again, and I wanted to make the area where the people would be sitting and stuff like that, giving it a little bit more of an atmosphere inside, because, of course, you go in and you have to have a little bit of area. Maybe people want to sit and just relax and watch those animals. And, of course, the trees and stuff were sticking out too high, and I needed to heighten up that ceiling a little bit, so I wouldn't be poking through. So I just made everything a little bit higher, changed it a little bit, played with the colors and stuff, so that area where the people are standing is a little bit darker, which would also help with the viewing. So if the area where you stand is a little bit darker and you watch towards the lights, it's much easier to see everything. So that was something I was thinking about, and I was changing the color of that plaster wall to green, thinking it will give a little bit more of a jungle feel than the grayish color. And then I was playing around with the bottom, seeing if I can make it a little bit more interesting and looking a little bit more interesting for the guests when they walk in, seeing what kind of atmosphere I wanted to do. And I opted for this kind of moss covered edges, just to get a nice view. And then these plaster pieces, I use them a lot actually, these plaster pieces with the leaf look. I think I really like them. Being flexicolor is also very handy, because you can just adjust it to have the look you want. And then around the edge, I want again the moss covered pieces, just to give everything, to get it all together. And then I could make the roof. And of course I wanted to have the roof a little bit sunken in. And the reason for that is because I wanted to put some plants on top. And then I made the roof and I thought, oops, I forgot to make a skylight in this roof. And just opted for a very simple, just getting the middle part out, putting glass in. And that just made it really nice to make it look, give a nice feeling. And I really like this glass roof as well, because it has these like uneven shaped glass pieces. So it just gives like a little bit of leaf feeling looking down. And then I'm working on the lighting here. We have these light pieces, rim pieces, and I was thinking of some indirect lighting going up towards the ceiling as well, and maybe coming from the bottom between those pieces. But in the end, the bottom pieces hardly give any light, so I shouldn't have bothered putting them there. But the top pieces give some extra lighting, and I really see in the end that that really helps with giving like it's so subtle, but you can see it in the end. And here I'm just making this like big cloggy wooden benches, just to fit in with the rest, and just giving that wood to give some contrast to all the dark and stony colors, and giving it a little bit of warmth. And these little bins with plant decorations was really nice, and just with playing around with those colors a little bit, just to make it fit in a little bit better, and just make it a little bit more quiet, toned down, because all the colors I found it too harsh. And of course, with all the glass, especially the low glass, you want to make sure that the guests won't kick against the glasses, so they can't. Of course, you want people to come, they can come close, but you don't want them to be kicking or maybe pushing the strollers against the glass and breaking something. So there would be like a small bottom piece of iron there, just to make everything, people from not getting completely being like flat against the glass and scaring the animals maybe, or bumping into the glass. So I made a little bit of an edge there. And then I saw this little part of the bottom sticking out, so I want to cover that as well. And I think that was the roof, and I could now plant it, and that's just making lots and lots of those small plants, just filling up the roof with it, so you have a nice green roof there that blends in well. And I think that was almost it. So this was it for this episode. We finished building the inside areas for the Capucin and the Capibara. And like you can see, it's a little bit shifted, and I'm really proud of it. It looks really nice. The inner parts of the build are done, and I'm really happy with that inner part of the Capucins. How it turned out, it looks really nice. It looks really like you would see it maybe in a zoo or something. And in the next episode, we're gonna do the outside. We're gonna fill it up with plants and stuff, and just make it look really, really nice. And of course, making the bridge, making the waterfall and the water features, and just filling it up and making it work correctly. So that will be for the next episode. Thank you for watching this episode, and have a nice day. Bye bye.